Long ago, before the winds of change blew over the land, there was a village named Umudiki. This was a land where warriors walked proudly, where the beat of drums could be heard beneath the canopy of trees, and the rivers flowed with ancient stories. In this land, honor was the greatest currency, and a man's reputation was as sacred as the spirits that watched over the land. This is the story of two warriors, brothers in arms who once fought side by side, and a woman caught in the storm between them. It is a story of betrayal, lies, and the ultimate price one must pay when honor is challenged. Our tale begins with Obiora, a warrior whose strength was known across the villages. Tall and proud, he moved like a lion, his spear and shield always ready to defend his people. He was a man of great courage, respected by the elders and admired by the young. At his side, always, was Chimobi, his childhood friend. Together, they had fought many battles, spilling blood side by side, bound by the sacred ties of brotherhood. Chimobi was different from Obiora. Where Obiora was strong and deliberate, Chimobi was quick and cunning. His eyes sparkled with mischief, and his smile could disarm even the most hardened elder. But beneath his charm, there was a hunger for power, for glory, for more than what life had given him. As boys, they were inseparable. But as men, their paths began to diverge, though neither saw the cracks forming beneath their feet. Obiora had married Neoma, the beautiful daughter of Chief Ezioka. Her eyes were like the stars that hung low in the night sky, and her laughter could chase away the darkest of storms. Their union was meant to bring together two powerful families and forge an even stronger future. But as years passed, no child came. In a village where legacy was everything, the absence of children was a shadow that grew with each passing year. Obiora loved Neoma deeply, but the weight of the village's whispers and the sidelong glances began to weigh on their marriage. And it was in this silence, in this vulnerable space, that Chimobi made his move. One fateful evening, as the moon cast its silver light over the village, Neoma revealed a truth that shattered Obiora's world. "Obiora, I carry a child," she said, her voice trembling. Obiora's heart leapt with joy. But that joy was short-lived. "The child," Neoma continued, "is not yours. It is Chimobi's." The world seemed to spin beneath Obiora's feet. His best friend, his brother, had betrayed him in the deepest way possible. Neoma, with tears in her eyes, explained how Chimobi had come to her while Obiora was away. He had taken advantage of her loneliness, of her vulnerability, and now she carried his child. Obiora's heart burned with fury, but there was more. Chimobi had done worse than just betray his trust. He had stolen Obiora's honor, his future, and his place among the warriors. Years before, Chimobi had been the one who took Obiora's rightful place in the prestigious Okaiga, the village's elite warrior group. Through lies and manipulation, Chimobi had convinced the elders to choose him instead of Obiora. And with that title came power, influence, and wealth, everything that should have been Obiora's. But the final insult came when Obiora learned that Chimobi had also taken the ceremonial sword that had been given to him as a wedding gift from Neoma's father. A symbol of honor, it had been stolen in an act of quiet treachery. Obiora could not bear the weight of this betrayal alone. He went to the council of elders, men whose wisdom had guided the village for generations. He laid bare his grievances, and Neoma herself came forward to speak the truth of what had happened. But Chimobi, ever cunning, denied everything. "These are lies," he said, his voice smooth as silk. "Yes, she carries my child, but it was her choice. She wanted a child, and Obiora could not give her one. This is no crime." The village was divided. Some believed Neoma, seeing the pain in her eyes, while others whispered that she had brought this upon herself. But in Igbo tradition, there was one way to settle disputes when words could not. The elders decreed that there would be a duel, a last duel, one that would decide the truth. The gods themselves would judge. Obiora and Chimobi would fight, and the winner would claim the truth and the honor that came with it. The day of the duel arrived, and the entire village gathered to witness it. The sky was heavy with dark clouds, as though the heavens themselves knew that blood would be spilled. Drums beat softly in the distance, their rhythm like the heartbeat of the village. Obiora stood tall, his face carved from stone. In his hand, he held a spear, simple but deadly. Across from him stood Chimobi, his stolen sword gleaming in the faint sunlight. His smile was gone, replaced by a cold, calculating look. The chief, Neoma's father, raised his hand. The gods will judge this day, he declared, and with that, the duel began. The clash of metal rang out, the sound reverberating through the square like thunder. Obiora's strikes were heavy, driven by years of pent-up rage, but Chimobi was quick, his movements sharp and calculated. Each blow was a test of wills, each clash a battle for honor and life. Sweat dripped from Obiora's brow as he circled Chimobi, his breath coming in ragged gasps. The air seemed thick, oppressive, as if the spirits of their ancestors watched from the trees, waiting to see who would fall. Then, in the midst of the battle, something strange happened. As Obiora raised his spear for another strike, he hesitated. For a split second, he saw a figure standing behind Chimobi, a man with the same dark eyes as his own. It was his father, long dead, watching over the fight with an unreadable expression. Obiora faltered, his heart pounding in his chest. Why would his father's spirit stand beside his enemy? Was there something he didn't know? Chimobi took advantage of Obiora's hesitation, lunging forward with the sword. Obiora barely dodged, the blade slicing through the air where his heart had been moments before. Shaking off the vision, Obiora refocused, his grip tightening on his spear. His ancestors were with him, guiding him. He had to trust that they wanted him to see this through. With a roar, Obiora charged forward, his spear slicing through the air and driving into Chimobi's side. Blood spattered from the wound, and Chimobi gasped, stumbling back. He dropped to his knees, clutching at his side as the life drained from him. But even in his final moments, Chimobi's lips curled into a twisted smile. "You think you've won," he rasped, blood bubbling at his mouth. "But I've taken what I wanted, and this child will carry my blood. I will live on, Obiora. You'll never be rid of me." And with that, Chimobi slumped to the ground, his eyes staring blankly at the sky. The crowd was silent, the weight of the moment pressing down on them all. Obiora stood over Chimobi's lifeless body, his chest heaving with exhaustion. But the victory felt hollow. The words Chimobi had spoken in his final breath echoed in his mind. Neoma approached, her hands resting on her belly, tears glistening in her eyes. But as she neared, something about her expression gave Obiora pause. Her gaze was not one of relief, but of guilt. "I never meant for it to go this far," she whispered, her voice trembling. Obiora frowned, stepping back. "What do you mean?" Neoma's eyes darted away, as though she couldn't bear to meet his gaze. I loved him once. Before you and I were ever married. I thought he would change. I thought if he gave me a child, things would be different." Obiora's heart turned to stone. The betrayal wasn't just Chimobi's. Neoma had played a part in it all along. "You knew," he said, his voice cold. "You knew what he had done, and yet you said nothing." "I didn't want to hurt you," she cried. "But I couldn't live with the guilt. That's why I confessed. I wanted to make things right." Obiora looked at her, the woman he had once loved, the mother of a child that now carried the blood of his greatest enemy. The prophecy weighed heavy in his mind. Would this child bring peace to Umudiki or destroy it? Without a word, he turned away, leaving Neoma standing alone, her hands clutching her belly. The village would remember this day, the day the last duel was fought. But the cost of victory, Obiora realized, was far heavier than he had ever imagined. In the heart of Umudiki, under the watchful eyes of the ancestors, the story of betrayal, love, and vengeance would echo for generations to come. But the true battle of legacy, honor, and the burden of blood had only just begun. If you enjoy our stories, please subscribe to our channel. Join our community and stay updated on our latest videos. Your support means a lot. See you later.